Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Bourbon Over Baseball, where the bourbon is cold and the baseball is hot. I got your host, Bob, today, and co-host, Peter.
Pleasure to be here, Bob.
I'm drinking some bourbon again. Got me some Woodford Reserve, try to keep warm again. It dropped very, very cold last couple days, but it's going to warm up again, so I'm not too worried.
And that's why I've got a nice Corona next to me to feel a little tropics of my own.
There you
and
go.
My own beach.
That's right. And with that Corona, Peter tonight is going to be talking about the great cards he put together. Again, everyone was afraid when they saw the White Sox, but never fear. The Nationals are here, and the Washington Nationals won't disappoint you.
Unless you're a fan of them in the regular season, in which case they seem to let you down time and again, unfortunately. But man, their Showdown team is loaded, and I have to say, I think if I'm going to play out with this set, they're the NL East favorites.
Easily. I mean, when we were looking through this team, there's so many draftable players, and we talked off air about another team that if Peter was coaching probably makes it to the playoff and does really well.
I can't disagree with that. The pitching is thin. We definitely, I'd be on the GM to make a move for bullpen help. I don't know how they didn't get Sean Doolittle much assistance. I think they made some trades in real life, but not quick enough.
Mm-hmm.
Did they get rid of Kinsler? I think they got rid of him rather than going all in. It was a terrible bullpen. And the starting rotation kind of finally sagged after years of sustained success. Especially the 2017 version of the Nationals was absolutely loaded. With Scherzer, Strasburg was a control 6 with no doubles, and Gio Gonzalez was a tier 2. So they were
they had three
loaded.
stud pitchers.
And but this year it's balanced out by having a phenomenal lineup.
Yeah, and just off the bat, we're not going to slow down here. We got Adam Eaton as an on-base 10, and these are one of those guys that I like because of the low salary and no home runs guys. But very, very good overall player.
Yeah, and kind of your prototypical leadoff guy.
Yeah.
I mean, the 18 speed is more than enough to challenge a lot of the catchers that you're going to find. 1 to 5 out, not bad, not too great, but he's going to get a guy with a lot of charts who's going to be frequently on base. I mean, I'd expect at least a 370 on base percentage out of him, putting him in good position for the big bats to come.
Yeah, I mean, you're not looking at this guy as he's going to make or break your team, but like you said, great leadoff hitter, low salary, and people want 10s. This is the kind of guy you're going to probably fill a slot with, and you don't want too many of this kind of player on your team. But I like him. I really what?
You want at least one.
Oh yeah, and that's. I mean, I always eyed up Lorenzo Cain or someone like that with a little more speed. But let's say I can't get him, I would like an Adam Eaton type player on my team. A great picture, obviously, where he looks like he's saying, "Don't calm down, everybody. I got this."
Yeah, I was gonna say I saw that picture. I had to cut him out. I love the way this card looks, so much so that if I'm picking between him, Kane, Altuve, and then Joey Votto's also one of these on-base 10s, no triple, no home run guys.
Mm-hmm.
I might just take Adam Eaton because I like how he looks.
Yeah, you're going to have the best stylized team.
Basically the same. I think they're all 340, 330 points in there based on a little bit of speed.
Now, you went with the Navy background here, which I really liked. There was a lot of red teams. They sort of get lost in the group, but there are a lot of Navy teams. What I like is what you did with this one. It does pop. It is Navy, but it is got the red a little bit in the background. And when you use it right, like we did with the Indians, I think it does a really well statement here.
I totally agree, and I think one of the things that works really well with the Nationals and the Indians especially, and then forthcoming, I would imagine, when we've done the lockups in the past for the Tigers, letting the color bleed through on the Navy, and that makes it a little more individualistic. I think one of the things, obviously, we've tried really hard to do in the set is use different backgrounds than people are used to, or at least more unique backgrounds, so that, as you've said many a time, you can just tell what team it is from far away.
Yes.
And like the Nationals, I tried using a white background, and that did not look good. The red background, I mean, we already have the Braves and Phillies in this division, and their reds are just as similar enough to make that work. But then you also have the Cardinals and Reds in the NL, and it figured try something a little bit different. I went with the Navy, and I'm also really thrilled with the way it came out.
I agree. And speaking of a card that you can tell right away from a distance will be Trey Turner, because he really just pops off the page at you. And he is another guy that's very draftable on this team. Only the 8 on base here, but super high speed and a pretty stacked chart.
I love this Trey Turner. He's going to be a guy. We were talking about guys who might get overdrafted based on where their points are. I mean, I think Trey Turner's going above Adam Eaton, definitely in a draft.
I agree. I think I like the +2 in the A speed 23, and he's going to give me power. Plus, for people that don't know this, obviously in a 16-team league, you got to find something in there. And, I mean, the eights are probably going to be very, very strong players when controls go down.
with the high speed, and then with the single plus at 12, he's basically an extra base hit at 12.
Yeah, he's stealing a lot.
Yeah.
He could be one of the league leaders in stolen bases in our league.
Easily. Not a lot of guys with that much speed with that high of an on base either. A lot of the 823 guys are the on base fives who have a very particular side. I mean, like Malik Smith from the Rays was an example.
What's Billy Hamilton? Is he a 5?
Yeah, he's an on base 5.
So same thing. This is really strong. I think you're right. I think I would choose him over Adam Eaton as well. And if I was just going head to head with those two guys.
And I think he might end up getting drafted before. I don't want to get too crazy with it, but a guy like Javi Baez.
Ooh, not if you're drafting.
Who does a bunch of everything. I think people might think someone might take him a little before him.
It's going to be interesting.
Maybe even a guy like Aaron Hicks, who's just kind of a ho-hum on base 9, homer at 18, 400-point player, or Mitch Hanigan.
Yeah.
Like, I think he's going to go in the second round.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see, because he's a shortstop, so you're probably going to grab Lindor, obviously way before him. People are drafting.
Story are going to go.
Correct.
In the first.
So then when you look at that, when you're down to the next tier, where does he fall in that tier? And that's really where he starts to going. You might see a guy go, well, I grabbed a great second baseman in my first round. In the second round, I'm grabbing a really good shortstop because I don't want to go too low and get a really terrible shortstop later on. It just depends how deep you think the position is.
Yeah, because the next guy after those big three shortstop-wise, you got Javi Baez, who's up there, and then Xander Bogaerts, who's kind of he's a good on-base 9, but not a ton of speed and zero fielding. I think a guy like Trey Turner with so much more pop and so much more speed, I think someone's gonna, I don't want to say reach, because I think he's good value, and people are still going to be really cautious about spending too many points early on. And I think people will oversave. Correct. And I think Trey Turner is going to end up being a second-round pick as a product of that philosophy.
And which like you said, I don't think it's a bad decision. I don't think if you grabbed him, you're going to be disappointed. Like, you're probably going to be like, I reached, but I really like what I got. Yeah. Speaking of as I say, this guy's getting drafted for sure. Yeah. As you know, everyone knows Bryce Harper, who we don't know where he's going to land as of this podcast. But 520 points. You got the 10 on base. A lot of pop. Not a lot of outs here. Obviously, he's going to walk a lot. Love the picture. I'm sold. I like this card a lot. What are your thoughts?
It was maybe the card I had the most fun tracking throughout the season, because there was a lot of doom and gloom about our boy Bryce, especially early in the year. I was living in D.C. every day on the radio hearing about how Bryce Harper's overrated, how they shouldn't re-sign him. He's hitting 230. And I'm just like, his on-base percentage is still in the 360s.
Oh, yeah.
And he's still hitting homers. I remember, I think we started talking in, May. I think that's when, you reached out about the blog. And sometime in May or June, and I messaged about Bryce. I'm like, at the moment, like he's got to keep it up, but even in this slump, he's an on-base 9 homer at 17.
Well, and the reason I ask is because, like, I think at the time, and he still is, but it was, I guess, he's on my fantasy baseball team.
Yep.
So I look at him and go, he's not performing enough for my fantasy baseball team, so I consider him a quote-unquote bust because I drafted him first round in fantasy baseball.
Yeah.
But he's not a bad player. I mean, you're talking about a guy that's getting on base all the time, has a great eye at the plate with a ton of pop. Yeah, he probably had a disappointing year, but just because people look at it, what was that, 2016 or whatever? What was his really high year?
2015.
2015. So people look at that and go, that's what he's supposed to be every year. But anybody should take this guy on their team. I mean, in real life, he's so good.
He hit 34 home runs, 34 doubles, had a 393 on base percentage.
Sounds awful.
Like, and he added 13 steals to boot.
Yeah.
Like, this is a guy who's doing everything. Maybe not as good defensively as you'd like. The batting average is obviously not superb. I mean, his slugging was almost 500.
I really think it's the 2015. They see that and go, he's supposed to be this, like, the best player ever, like another Barry Bonds, and he's not Barry Bonds. Well, guess what? Like, he's still very, very good.
Well, maybe he will be if he does sign with
San Francisco.
I'm saying right now, I'm so pumped to do the Bryce Harper and Manny Machado pennant run cards, and I'm already decided Bryce Harper, unless he signs with San Diego in like a pitcher's park, giving him the A-Rod pennant run treatment, where he went from the on-base 10 homer at 18
to the 17.
Yep, and so basically just changed the last double to a home run, just like A-Rod's card.
Yeah, that's right.
So technically, guys, it's an homage. It's part of the history of the game. I'm respecting the set.
Yeah.
While also just trying to create another awesome card to work in that people can have a lot of fun with.
And we talked about having fun with it too, or maybe there's the pennant run official type stuff where it is the guys got traded or they didn't have a card, and then there's the more prospectus, like what they could be type of pennant run. So hopefully you, the fans, will be able to see that change. We might change the color a little bit, but you guys will know, I think, looking at it, going, this is what Bryce Harper could be, and then whoever lands him, say it is San Francisco or whatever, you could just get really hyped about what he can be for your team, which I would love. Like, if he was to sign with the Indians, I want to, like, Peter, what is he going to be? I want to know.
Yeah. And imagine, like, if you're a Giants fan and you're putting together just a bunch of the classic Showdown cards and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine putting MLB Showdown 01 Barry Bonds, that on-base 10 homer at 16 guy. Next to on-base 10 homer at 17, Bryce Harper. Next to Jeff Kent.
Love
next
it.
To one of the Buster Posey cards we've put out.
Mm-hmm.
And just and then got your Lincecum, Kane, Bumgarner.
Bumgarner, exactly.
So much potential.
Now, speaking of why we talked earlier about how good this team was, the 10s just don't stop. You got another 10 coming up, which I love, and we've talked about the all-rookie squad here, is Juan Soto, and his card is awesome. And I think underrated at first glance. When you look at it, you go, okay, he's a 10, homers at 19, as we talked earlier, only a 1 to 2 out, and that's where I think his strongest case is.
Yeah, so I think he's a guy that I'm probably not going to draft just because I expect him to go probably to you in the second round.
Yeah, I'm eyeing this guy up pretty early. If any of my friends that are playing in my league are listening, you know, I'm sure you guys can snake him out from underneath me. But I do love high on base, low out players. They get the advantage, and they're always getting on base. This is the guy that's going to do that for you. Again, he's not going to win you the game, as we talked a little bit off air. He's not your, I think you said 3-4 hitter. He's not the guy that you're hopefully knocking in your runs, but this guy,
really good number 2.
Yeah, number 2. Can he fill in? I don't think anybody has that stacked where he'd be a number 5, but maybe in a lower draft league. But
I mean, if you get really crazy with it, just because he doesn't have as much on base and you don't care about the speed being low, he could be like a Matt Carpenter like.
Yeah, you're right, absolutely. But that just says how stacked this Nationals team is.
Yeah, and then they're the only team in the 2018 set with 4 on-base 10s,
Yes.
which is Anthony Rendon coming up next.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that's 2016 Cubs type stuff.
Yep.
10 on,
And
4
didn't
on
even
base
make the
10s.
playoffs.
No, I mean, and this guy's hitting 5th because
Yep.
they got Trey Turner. So amazing 1-5. Rendon, also a guy I'm probably not going to draft just because I expect him to go before I would take him, because people love high on base.
Yeah, I don't like this guy though, just because no plus fielding, slow as a C-speed
Yep.
13, and only the 20 home run. I mean, obviously, he's under 400 points, so that's where you're getting your steal here in terms of salary. But I think, as you think, that salary is kind of mute when you have such a big league. Obviously, for smaller leagues, you got to be very concerned about it, and he probably is a better value. But in a big league, you're only going to get a couple studs, and I'd rather have a Juan Soto on my team. But hey, if Anthony Rendon is there and I don't have much, I don't mind taking him.
Well, this might be like him versus Trey Turner. Like, I'm taking Trey Turner all day.
I would take Trey Turner all day too. I agree.
Like, I'd pay Trey Turner 380 points and take him.
I think Trey Turner. I mean, obviously, I'm trying to look. I like Juan Soto the best of the top 5 hitters, but then probably Bryce, and then probably Trey Turner. But man, it just depends on what you need. I mean, obviously, you always want like a Big 10 home run guy like Bryce Harper can be, and also he only gets out 1 through 3, which is just stud. But
he's my pick.
Yeah. Now, if we're gonna go with picks on just looks, Trey Turner was good, but also this Ryan Zimmerman card you created, which I absolutely love, with this navy blue color scheme that he's got with his jersey with the USA W. But I think the light tone of his body really pops off the card here. Disappointing, he's not the greatest card, but he's not bad. +1 first base.
He's very Mitch Moreland in this set. And he's a guy who, I mean, especially for what he is on this team, where he's the 6 hitter with plus fielding and then just a bunch of pop. Double at 12, homer at 17. Remember, there are going to be purposefully depressed control numbers throughout this set. Your on-base 7s are going to do more damage than typical.
This is the guy that I'm drafting on picture, though. If you guys haven't seen the podcast, haven't seen the blog yet, maybe I'm just blind, but I think this card just really stands off. And as Peter was saying earlier, I love, personally, the graphic of seeing a card pop at me. People that know me, I had all my 2000 cards framed on a wall before just to visually see them all the time. This card just striking, and he's pretty decent. I mean, like you said, the 7 on base isn't bad. I don't like the 1 through 5 out, but he's got pop, 12 double. I mean, if you get the advantage, like you said, you're getting on second.
And I have a feeling he's going to be available later in the draft.
Yeah, he could be a sneaky pick, so keep your eye on this guy. People, this guy could be. I like the +1. Like he just kind of adds. He's got a lot of things going for him, and that's why I kind of like. He's a 7, which people will just go, they scoff at, but it's gonna run dry pretty quick. And don't forget about this guy when you need that first baseman that's got the plus fielding.
Yep.
The next guy, Matt Wieters, I think he's gonna
get drafted.
I think he's gonna be late though, because he's in the middle. Like, I think people are gonna go, I want high strong power or high strong fielding, and so he falls. I mean, I would say +6 would be the middle, but like +7 is just there. So I don't think he's going early, because I think people are gonna go, I'm either punting catcher or I'm going high catcher. But a 6 on base scares people, and he's super slow. But then +7, and he doesn't really get out much, so he's gonna get drafted, like you said. But I think he's in this random mid spot. Like, he's gonna go late.
Like, I think he's gonna be somebody's like last round pick.
That's what I'm saying. He's a guy that's waiting on catcher.
Especially someone's gonna realize, like, probably many teams are gonna realize that they have a bunch of salary left at the end. And they'll be like, you know what? I guess I was planning to punt catcher, but instead of 30 points, I can spend the 140, and now I get a +7 arm with a much better chart as an on-base 6 than a +6 with on-base 5.
Yeah.
So I think he'll find his way and end up being a number 8 hitter.
Yeah. If I had him on my team, I'm not going to be mad. I just don't think people are going to go. I think people are going to draft two different types like right away. They're gonna go. I'm gonna go for the high on base 10s or 9s or 8s,
Yep.
then or they're gonna say I'm gonna punt and I'm gonna grab the best like Yadier Molina type catcher, and then if not, they're just gonna wait till the end and just grab whatever the best catcher is available at the end.
Yeah, and a guy who will also be available at the end. Although this is a card where I really like the picture.
Yes.
It was tough. I couldn't really get him centered the way I wanted to, but
It came out good.
good old Wilmer here. I love the red on blue.
Yes.
I obviously tried as hard as I could to do it as much as possible. That's why I'm glad the Ryan Zimmerman popped so much, because I was really concerned about the Navy jersey.
And I think it's because of how light he is. Like,
Yeah,
if he
'cause
was a
it's
dark
almost a
picture,
different shade.
yeah, I like it a lot. But this one came out really good, and I like him running. Looks like he's
Yeah,
just running the
tossing
first.
bat.
Yep.
So he's
Hopefully
he's
he
a
just
guy
hit a home run for you guys.
Yeah, rather than in reality, which is he probably walked or popped up based on his facial expression. He's probably going to be, if he gets picked at all, he's going to be a bench guy.
Yeah. I think so, unless there was no fielding left at second base and you waited a while, maybe you grabbed him for that. But A speed 21 doesn't get out much. He's probably fitting your bench. Another guy that's gonna fit your bench, maybe.
Or start.
You're a big fan of the low on base high homer guys for the. I think you're right though. I think so. Mark Reynolds is the guy we're talking about. He's a 6 on base, 14 home run. But as Peter said before, with the low control in the league, he could get the advantage.
Yeah, and I think on base 6s should be treated like on base 7s in normal leagues.
Mm-hmm.
Like just based on the pure numbers, it's like having a 7 on 4. I think it's going to be a 3 on a 6 a lot of the time.
Did he just sign with the Rockies?
Yes.
He's funny. He's
along with the guy Daniel Murphy, who in 2017 was an on-base 10 for the Nationals.
Yeah.
At second base, like they could have been even more stacked, but he fell apart this year.
Yeah.
I hope he bounces back.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I like the Rockies, so I'm hoping Mark Reynolds hits a bunch of home runs, but not a great card. But he'll find a spot. I actually think Michael Taylor will find a spot. The next guy we're talking about. And
I think Mark Reynolds is a good example, and I think in general this showdown set is a great example for the National League being much more capable of switching to the DH than people might say. Like, oh, these teams are designed for pinch hitting and couldn't handle it. There's not enough good hitters. They'll be overmatched every day. These NL teams, almost every single one has had a guy on the bench who at the very least is a very capable power hitter, if not like Munoz for the Cardinals is a good on-base 8. Thames for the Brewers.
Oh, Thames could be a good one.
Two guys.
What was the other guy? Domingo Santana that they used to have in the Brewers? That'd be another guy.
He didn't make the cut this year, but he's definitely like one of those type of players.
Correct.
I believe the Rockies have a good hitter on their bench. Like it just.
Now, did you see the guy on Twitter? Again, people were going off topic here, but I hope you guys like our sometimes our off-topic chatter. But did you see the guy on Twitter that said, "Wouldn't it be interesting that no one's talking about, but just do 8 players in the lineup?" Did you see that thing? I actually was kind of intrigued by that. So that if people that don't know, he said, everyone keeps fighting. Should you have the DH? Should you not have the DH? Why do you need it? He goes, just the pitcher doesn't bat, and you only have 8 players. People love watching Bryce Harper bat. They love watching Mike Trout bat. Couldn't you just do that, where then you would have more opportunities to see Mike Trout, Bryce Harper? Obviously, baseball won't change anytime soon, and they're very slow to do so. I was very intrigued by that idea.
I was as well. It makes a lot of sense, and seems like one of those things for trying to get more fans involved and watch on TV. It's a lot better knowing that the guys are in it. It's just another chance to get 5 at-bats.
Yes.
In a game for your guy, which is just really tough. Or it almost guarantees 4.
Oh yeah.
Like the odds that you're gonna have 5 base runners in a game really high.
Mm-hmm.
And with say pitchers against you have a 1 whip, which is really really good. That would end up being 36 batters faced in a game. You're guaranteeing the first 4 hitters hit 5 times.
I like it. It's interesting. Yeah. It's interesting. It was weird that no one was. I've never even heard it until I saw it on Twitter and I was like, wow, why is no one talking about that?
Yeah.
So anyway, back to Showdown. Michael Taylor, great pitcher. We got. I love grabbing the center fielder pictures where they're catching the ball. Obviously, Peter did that great job with this. Michael Taylor, center fielder +3 with the A speed 23, running back to catch this ball. But as Peter said, a lot of these 23 speed guys, they are just 5 on base.
Yeah, and so he's pinch runner with good defense at the end, bench player.
I think he
Glad
finds a
you
spot
liked the
late.
cutout because it was not high res and it took forever.
Luckily, it's small.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I actually think he'll find a spot just because the center fielder +3. I think
agree.
someone's going to say, well, I grabbed Bryce Harper with a +0, and I grabbed Joe Schmo as a +1. I'm screwed in outfield unless I can get a very high center fielder. You know, this will be late. He's late, though.
Right?
He's real late. What?
We're doing DH.
Absolutely. I am a huge fan of the universal DH.
Yeah, so you hit him 9th.
Yeah.
You know?
Who cares? At that point, you know what I mean?
Yeah, honestly, you're just like 1 out of every 5 times or so, he's probably going to get on the pitcher's chart.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then Severino, he's not going to get picked.
No, and this is we're talking about, this is even below the I think average or middle tier picks of a 5 on base, 6 arm. I don't want them. So as we transition to where the crazy good lineup was at one point, we sort of are going to the pitching, which Max Scherzer is always going to be a stud. This Max Scherzer this year looks really, really similar to a lot of people's OG 2000 Randy Johnson.
Yes, and kind of intentionally so.
Mm-hmm.
Huge strikeout range. Obviously, once again, he led the major leagues in innings pitched.
Mm-hmm.
An amazing whip. We've had discussions on the past with some guys on the blog or on Twitter about why Max Scherzer gets the IP8 rather than Jacob deGrom, because deGrom did pitch more like innings per start.
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of based on the tier and evening it out. DeGrom's card, he's a tier 1, Scherzer's a tier 2. And so DeGrom's going to be a higher tier for 7/8 of the innings. And then they're going to be on the same level, except DeGrom doesn't give up a double in the 8th.
Yeah.
So essentially, DeGrom would just be too ungodly good with the IP8. And so for the interest of mixing up the game and creating more strategy and stuff like that, Scherzer did pitch more innings. And that's how this has been handed out in the past when we've done it. And I think it makes the card more interesting and makes the set as a whole more diverse.
I agree. I think it really adds a lot of flavor to the card. Being the OG type with the 3 control IP8 1 through 18 now, it's just like super fun. And I know a guy in our league that loves these kind of cards. So he drafted 2 of this similar player on his team, who ended up winning the World Series. Shout out to the T800s. And Max Scherzer's his type of player, and he didn't do great, but he didn't do bad either. Like, it was really interesting. Yeah. So I don't like him per se, but depending on who's available, man, 1 through 18 out is not something to shy away from.
Yeah, and then kind of like it goes with his really good whip.
Yep.
And this is one of the reasons, kind of like Josh Hader.
Yep.
And his card design. Scherzer had a .911 whip, phenomenal.
Yep.
But he had a 2.5 ERA, so he barely got hit. But when he got hit bad.
Exactly, and that's why I like the way these cards sort of play out. It really adds a lot of flavor to them, and I think they are true to what they are, even though people on the surface might look at that and go, "But I saw Scherzer pitch; he was amazing." Well, when we look at the stats a little bit deeper, it sort of evens itself out. Break down Strasburg.
Big disappointment this year, frankly. He was a control 6, 1 to 15 out, no doubles in 2017. Absolute stud. This year, good strikeout range, but I mean, he ended up with kind of a really high whip, 1.2. He did have a 3.74 ERA, but he just fell into that tier 4 category. And unfortunately, didn't have a ton of innings. Injuries slowed him down.
Yep. Yeah, I didn't hear his name a lot this year talked about, and he wasn't in any of the conversations for, a good pitcher. So you're only going to get a 3 control here, 1 through 16 out. I mean, obviously, we say it all the time. He's going to find a spot in our giant league, but probably typically he's going to be maybe back end of your bullpen type of player.
Yeah, I mean, he's a number 4 starter.
Yep.
From Showdown perspective, I'd say. I mean, he, Rourke, and Hellickson are all tier 4 guys.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, Gio Gonzalez was dealt. He would have been a tier 3 for him. It's a shame. The Nationals, Pythagorean win-loss for the Nats, 90 wins this year. Like, they had the guys. Just wasn't put together by Matt Williams, and I think his mismanagement caused the pitching to suffer a bit, because Rourke and Hellickson are your typical control 2, 1-17, like your Max Suzuki of 2001 guys.
Oh, yeah.
And you're probably not going to want them.
This is why Peter should have coached.
Yeah. But guy that I would have used a bunch, maybe it would have depressed some of his numbers because he would have gotten into a lot more than 43 games for me, is Sean Doolittle, a.k.a. the best relief pitcher in baseball.
Yes. So if anybody is drafting, this is the number 1 closer, the number 1 reliever. Well, Hader might be the number 1 reliever, but this is the best closer in the game.
The only tier 0 pitcher.
Yes.
Like he's above tier 1. He's in a league of his own.
And this is, look up his stats. I was sort of taken back. I didn't remember, because I think the Nationals did so bad, he just didn't get as much talking points about. But wow. I mean, unbelievable stats for the year. And just such a low ERA, such a low whip. His walk to strikeout ratio is like 12.0 or something, or 10.0. Ridiculous. So he's got the 1 through 11 strikeout. So as I was looking at this card, guys, first as you see this, you're going to go, oh my God, this giant picture of Sean Doolittle really stands out, really grabs your attention. I looked at the 1 through 18 out, no double. I was like, this guy's a stud. And then I looked at his control 5. I'm like, holy shit. Like this, like you said, this is Billy Wagner. This is a guy that, if you miss out on this guy in your draft, this guy someone's reaching for, and I don't blame him. He is so good and was so dominant. I love that the picture really grabs your attention and really makes a statement as much as this card, I think, will for your team.
Yeah, and unfortunately, he's kind of the only statement guy in this whole bullpen.
Yeah, the rest of it sort of falls out. You got Matt Grace is a control 2, 1 through 18. That's not good. Greg Holland, very disappointing.
He was so bad for the Cardinals. It was hilarious being in St. Louis and listening to them bemoan about Greg Holland and celebrate when he got traded. But yeah, he's a struggle. And then 2 guys with low controls who give up home runs. Yeah, and Justin Miller and Sammy Sauce. Sammy is one of my favorite pictures. He's got the duck face going. There is
another guy the guy that
Hellickson is also.
No,
he's got his tongue out in this one.
What's the one for the White Sox? I just did. Who's that? Ronaldo Lopez.
Oh,
every clear picture.
Picture.
Yeah, every clear picture I could find of this guy, he had this like duck lips thing going on. And I was trying to find a picture where he wasn't doing it. I was like, that's how he pitches, I guess, and that's how Sammy Salas pitches too. I mean, it's whatever. It's funny. I didn't even look at the Hellickson picture. Now that you say it, he's kind of goofy as well. But yeah, the rest of
the tongue full out.
Yep. Yeah. So you're not drafting, hopefully not, Sammy or Justin. I mean, Greg Holland. I mean, if you really needed to, you want
like your 6th guy.
Yeah. I mean, you could throw him real late to fill in because he doesn't give up a single or a double, and he's 0 control for only 20 points. So yeah, at the end of the draft, I'd rather have him over anybody that gives up a home run. So maybe, but like Matt Grace, you don't want. But man, after all that, Sean Doolittle is so good. I see him going very, very early. And again, people reaching for him when they probably don't even need a closer. They might not even have starters yet, and they're just saying, "I'm going to make sure that no one's scoring on me when I switch the bullpen."
Yeah, and I mean, overall, I'd say there's at least 8 really draftable players.
Let's see here. We got
the first 5 hitters.
3, 4, 5.
I would say Michael Taylor's really draftable for the cheap.
6, 7.
And then Scherzer and Doolittle.
8. Yeah, 8 for sure. And I still like Ryan Zimmerman.
As
being Zimmerman. A 9.
I like Reynolds. I think Wieters is getting drafted.
Yeah, those guys are at the second. So of them, that there's 8 people like
Strasburg
100%.
Probably goes.
Yep. Yeah,
So, I mean,
eight are going in a normal league. Our deep league, well, probably a deep league, almost everyone goes. But in a deep league, you're going to take Zimmerman. You're going to take a Mark Reynolds. But I think you're right. The top 5 are going 100%. Scherzer's going, and Doolittle's going, no doubt.
I mean, they're better than the Braves.
Yeah.
Like, just looking at them, top to bottom, it's hard to believe that they lost this division.
Yeah, very sad and disappointing, especially like you said. There's just people that, especially in their bullpen and their pitching staffs, just kind of fell apart. Maybe it was a lot of coaching. Maybe it was a lot of just players not performing to their peak potential. Obviously, Scherzer did great, but man, with a lineup like that, you really got to come through and get to the playoffs.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, everyone, that is the Washington Nationals. I hope you guys enjoyed our podcast at Bourbon Over Baseball, and I hope you guys are following and subscribe to the podcast. Hope you're following the blog, retweet it, follow us on Twitter. I think next up is the Toronto Blue Jays, so an okay AL team. What's next on the NL side, Peter?
Somewhere in the D-backs, Mets, Phillies range.
Peter likes to dabble on a lot of different projects at the same time. He just released some other podcast or other blogs on the site, so obviously go check those out.
It's coming soon. I did the 1998 Padres.
Ooh, can't wait to see it.
I finished their whole team. My goal is for people to be able to easily integrate them with the original cards.
I like it.
So like you can have, like your original Ryan Klesko pennant run, that Reggie Sanders card that's really good, Phil Nevin, the better version of Julio Virez, and then mix in Greg Vaughn, who's an on-base 8 homer at 14. That's the goal. Plus, Kevin Brown when he should have won the Cy Young for the Padres. Robbed.
There's a lot of times that Kevin Brown gets no love in general.
He in 1998, and I don't know if anyone cares about this, but he had 2.5 more WAR, I believe, than Cy Young winner Tom Glavine.
Wow.
I don't know how he finished below him. 2.5. He had an 8.6 WAR, which is 2 higher than Greg Maddux that year, who was and 1.9 higher than Al Leiter, who at 6.7 was the second most WAR to his 8.6. Like, I don't understand. He had a better ERA than Glavine. He pitched 30 more innings than Glavine. He had 3 more complete games, same amount of shutouts. His whip was 0.2 lower, basically. He had a 1.06 versus a 1.2. Basically, it's Glavine won 20 games. Like that. The 90s are frustrating.
Well, and also what was weird, as I was just looking it up, was Trevor Hoffman got more votes for Cy Young than him. And that was Trevor.
That's the craziest thing of all, is Trevor Hoffman led the NL Cy Young voting in first place votes.
Wow.
And lost.
I mean, Trevor Hoffman was a stud that year.
And that makes his card really good too. I mean, obviously you've got your control 4 1 to 18 out in the normal. But here I made him control 5 1 to 17 out, no doubles. So think Pedro 01 for a closer.
I mean, I'm just looking at Kevin Brown. It literally is the only thing was that Tom Glavine had 2 more wins. I mean, he had less ERA, more complete games, 30 more innings, 20 more hits allowed, but that's whatever. 100 more strikeouts. I mean,
he should have won the Cy Young in '98. God. He should have won the Cy Young in '96 with the Marlins when he had a preposterous 1.89 ERA.
Oh my God.
0.94 WHIP. Like, he led the league.
He keeps losing to Atlanta Braves pitchers that just get wins.
And then in 2000, I'll say this, like in the MLB Showdown 01, one of the first foils I ever got that I pulled from a pack was 01 Kevin Brown. Like, I still don't have 00 Kevin Brown because I'm too satisfied with 01 Kevin Brown. And I don't like to use multiple players on the same team, like the same player. So like I only use one of the Mariners A-Rods on the Mariners,
Oh, I see what you're saying.
and so like I've just never tried to get that other Kevin Brown.
Now Kevin
He
Brown
should
had
have won the Cy
120.
Young in 2000. He
Well,
led the league in ERA and WHIP in that too. He should have 3 Cy Youngs. He's a Hall of Famer.
Oh, that's
There,
for sure. That's no doubt. But he, at least in, no, was this 96? 96. I mean, John Smoltz had, let alone 24 wins. He also had like 276 strikeouts. Like, ridiculous. Now, again, he had almost a 1.0 ERA more than Kevin Brown, but at least it should have been closer than, I mean, it was like...
I mean, their WARs were .5 apart.
Yeah,
so
so they're
least
very close.
that means, God, John Smoltz was 3 times closer to Kevin Brown than the next closest guy. It's ridiculous. He led pitchers in WAR that year in the National League too.
He's a
Surprise.
He's a great pitcher, and I'm excited to see everything that you're coming out with. With that being said, everyone, thank you for listening. My bourbon is gone, and stay tuned for the next one. Have a great one, Peter.
All right, see you, Bob.